Well, there we have it. I'm calling the painting done. I'm pretty happy with it. So, I'll just give you a little hand puppet description of the colors. Meaning I'll point to it. Okay, I'm not going to explain that. You know that. We'll start in the distance. I have this little shot of sort of a limeish green. That's a combination of cad yellow pale, cobalt blue, and white. The here, and here are varying degrees of yellow ochre, raw umber, burnt sienna. Very little raw umber. I've only used enough raw umber to tone down the combination of yellow ochre and burnt sienna in places. Otherwise, you come up with quite a strong chroma. These reds were some of the darker spots of red, like you can see a little bit here encircling the brighter spot. That's alizarin crimson and cad red medium, and then I've overlaid it with a touch of just straight cad red medium, just in a few spots to give it some vibrance. As I explained, the painting was originally painted, or the start of it was painted in acrylic, quinacridone magenta. So I added a little bit of white to that quinacridone magenta to lay in these brighter pink spots here as well. Here I've added a little bit of cobalt blue to that mixture, just to cool it off. Down here we're back just a little bit into the yellow ochre and now alizarin crimson and white. Gone away from the cads, well, mostly because it softens the chroma, softens the intensity of the paint. Here we have cad yellow pale, alizarin crimson, and no, we don't. We have yellow ochre and alizarin crimson and a bit of white in these little spots here and there. Getting into the intense areas, the odd stroke, well, I should say that actually a lot of the strokes are yellow ochre and white in varying degrees, as always, to give you this bit of a ribbon of light through it. Where I've wanted it the most intense, I've gone straight cad yellow pale and white, titanium white, as always, just to intensify this area and the odd little fleck here and there. Okay, coming a little closer. Well, let's not come closer now. Let's just describe the trunks. All of the tree trunks in this painting, with the exception of this group of three, are cobalt blue and raw umber and white, again in varying degrees. For these three, I did away with the yellow ochre and I went, not the yellow ochre, I did away with the cobalt blue and went to ultramarine blue and raw umber and white, again in varying degrees. Bit of a different blue, bit richer, but these are, in the most foreground areas. So I thought that would sort of differentiate these thematically from the others. Getting into the greens now. All of these greens, with the exception of this patch, are ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, and burnt sienna, and white, again in varying degrees. Here we've gone burnt sienna, just this patch, right here. Burnt sienna, cobalt blue, and very, very little white. Cooler, brings it forward, darker. So, I'd like to point to individual spots, but you can't do that. Again, there's a plethora of brushstrokes on there. Even for a little 8 by 10 inch panel like this, there's quite a bit in there. It's less of a study now and more of an impressionistic painting. But I quite like the effect that's come out of it. As you can see, this straight branch that was here was kind of bothering me. I decided to change things a little bit. It almost gets a bit scary, Halloweenish looking, but I don't think so. I think it's going to work. I know a few years ago, well, a bunch of years ago, I did a 2436, and the painting that I made, the branches, it was, there was no snow on the ground, but it was late fall. There were no leaves. There was no foliage on the trees, and the trees were all very angular and sharp. And I was happy with it, and I sent it to the gallery, and the owner of the gallery said, "Wow, that looks almost scary. It looks a bit like a nuclear winter." And when he said that, I had to agree with him. It wasn't such a friendly looking painting, so I tend to, watch my angles a little bit and try to. Yeah, I can look a little unnatural if things are too angular. Now, mind you, in nature, you can come across that. But, we don't want to scare anybody away, so. But I think this works. I think this works just fine. In general, very happy with the painting. I know that before I went to this one, I said that I was going to go larger. The next one would be a canvas. And as you can see, that's not what happened. That's still not working out. We'll see next week. I may play with something small again for the next video. I'm really not sure. Gonna have to play that one by ear. Anyway, thanks so much for coming along for this one. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you next week sometime. Bye. Oh yes, the little tour of the painting. I always forget that. But that's what I'm going to do right now. We'll just zoom in on a few areas. Give you a better idea. Or a closer look, I should say, of what's here. See up close? See how sloppy that is? I love it. That's what helps to keep the painting alive. See those little sparkles of quinacridone magenta showing through here and there? Okay, guys. Now we'll sign off. See you.